This is going to be our first introduction to Windows 7, the release candidate. My name is Ranjana Jain. I work as an IT Pro Evangelist with Microsoft India. As a part of my job basically involves evangelizing or talking about the newest technologies available from Microsoft. And in this role, I specialize in talking about the client and the server technologies as well as the security products for Microsoft. I also work on integrating Windows and Linux-based PCs, especially with respect to their security features, and explore how we can improve Windows security, especially on the client front as well as on the server front. So today we'll be talking about Windows 7. In fact, we'll be doing less of talking and more of seeing what's new in Windows 7 and how it has gone far ahead of Windows Vista in terms of making your PC really simple. So welcome aboard. We'll start in just half a minute. Session on meeting Windows 7, our first introductory session to what's new in Windows 7. My name is Ranjana Jain. I work as an IT Pro Evangelist with Microsoft India. I'm based out of New Delhi, and a very good afternoon to all of you, and I hope you enjoy this particular session. So let's start. All right. So see, I hope most of you would be using Windows Vista or Windows XP, SP2 on your desktops on day-to-day. So some of you might be, end users or consumers who would be using Windows XP, SP2 in your desktop in everyday life at home. And many of you would be part of enterprise customer base who would be using Windows XP or Windows Vista PCs at their office. Majority of you would be using Windows Vista or XP as a part of your corporate policy and as a part of what IP helpdesk, the operating system that IP helpdesk supports. But let's see that if we need to choose from the most modernized and the current operating system which really works well on my PC, is Windows 7 a good choice? And if it's how good it is a choice, and what are the new things that Windows 7 brings to your desk? All right. All right. So we started with a simple PC. Microsoft Windows started with a simple PC, and when we were about to release Windows Vista, we said Windows Vista is the new operating system that all of you must have, and the wow is now. But what now? So now we have something better than wow to you, and that is Windows 7. All right. So basically, all of you would agree with me that if I go to the market today, try to buy a new laptop, a new PC, there are certain basic things that I want my PC to do for me. I basically want it to be really useful for me in allowing me to do the work I want to do. It should be easy and simple to use, and that is why people buy Windows. And it should work and be responsive. It should work well with whatever I want to do. So I want to feel safe while working. I want to make sure that my PC is simple to use when I'm using it, and I really want it to do what I want, what the task that I ask it to do. So works well, it is easy to use, it is really useful, then I'm interested in other stuff like special features, new things, what it looks like, all the bright shiny things as we as Microsoft are often so focused on. Now there's a lesson here. People aren't really interested in all the cool new stuff unless they're satisfied that PCs will work well and be easy to use. I hope you would agree with that. So it's important that as we go to the market with Windows 7, we never focus solely on what's cool and new. We have to also establish the fact that PCs with Windows 7 work well and are easy to use. So what have we learned from our experience with Windows Vista as it went into the market? We really learned that we have to get back to the fundamentals, to the basics of how a person wants a personal computer to work. So we explored the fundamental tenets, and we heard many things from the customers who told us that they want their PC to improve upon security, reliability, upon performance. They want it to be nimble and reliable, more secure, more responsive, faster. It should minimize the clutter, maximize the usable space, and should basically simplify your life, both offline, at home, when you're working, and online. So we built upon a product based on PC fundamentals, which has to be reliable, it has to improve on responsiveness, and it has to have ease of use as well as security. And hence, we brought out Windows 7. So we listened to the customer, and we did a lot of minor changes, a lot of small changes into Windows Vista base with Windows Vista as a PC, and we made sure that Windows 7 gave people a PC which could work how they wanted it to work, which could respond well to their commands, which could with which people could feel really safe while working with, and it worked for the features they wanted to work for. So let's see how Windows 7 works. So from now on, I'll be switching back and forth with my PC, which is installed with Windows 7, the release candidate, and we'll be showing you the little things that we have done in Windows 7 and how they make your life really simple. So going ahead with the basic features that Windows 7 gives you, it's really easy to use. And how do we know that it's really easy to use? The kind of desktop experience it gives you. We start with a desktop experience. I'll share my own desktop with you. So I work on day-to-day on my Microsoft corporate network as a normal Microsoft employee, and I find Windows 7 really helps me achieving my day-to-day tasks really better. And how do I find that is that I have a lot of folders. All right. Now, since my team is changed back to Windows Vista Basic because me sharing it on live meeting, we'll see that Windows 7 brings us a better search. So if I want to search through some of the very important features in Windows 7, or anything that I want to say I have a Windows 7 document, or I have direct access document. If I search for direct access, it quickly gives me all the documents, all the mails. So it gives me, items from my documents, which can be Word items, which can be PowerPoint, slide decks. It can be any music that relates to that particular thing. It can be podcasts. It can be, Outlook, mails, etc. that I have read or I have not read from my Microsoft Outlook. And the federated search experience in Windows 7 it makes sure that it gets me all the related documents, not only from what's there in my PC, but also what's there on my intranet. So in case I'm connected to my intranet, or it will even search the history of my browser to make sure that if I have actually So it makes sure that it goes to the control panel, gets to documents, music, etc., programs, etc. And beyond that, it gives me the various items which have been there in the libraries, on the desktop, in the Outlook, and if I served any kind of web pages related to that particular document for my feeds, etc. You see, the federated search really gives me, and beyond that, you can go ahead, just like this, you can go ahead and save this particular search so that it can carry out the safe parameters and gives you the best of the search results that are possible on the net. So it gives you an integrated, a federated online experience which searches documents and items not only from your desktop, but if you connect it to the internet or intranet, it serves the browser's history, it serves the related documents that you just served on your SharePoint, on your intranet, and it gives you a search related to that. Alright, now beyond that, now put that, okay, let's go ahead and look at the taskbar enhancements. Alright, now in the taskbar, although my arrow features are not enabled completely because I'm sharing it on live meeting, but you see that on the taskbar, if I click upon, if I scroll through a particular set of documents that I have opened, it opens up, I have opened Outlook, so it gives me the Outlook window and it gives me a preview of the mail. Now, had arrow been enabled, this thing gives me a complete preview window of what's open inside a particular mail. So even if I'm trying to download, or even if I'm trying to, now traditionally in Windows 95, Windows 98, and Windows XP, or in any multi-user application, if you're using two Excel worksheet or spreadsheets side by side, you generally open multiple windows and you start comparing them. But with this, if I have opened multiple windows, I can just explore through. So if I have opened Bing over here, and I have opened, let's say Microsoft.com over here, so only from the taskbar, even if I am working on my Outlook mail, I can still go and have a preview of what's going on in the browser. So since had my arrow been enabled, it gives me a complete rectangular picture of what's going on and what's open in that particular window. And I can directly go and focus upon the particular page that I want to work on directly, rather than opening Internet Explorer and exploring and going through multiple tabs and then choosing what I want to work on. Beyond that, if I want to, let's say, download so if I try, what I'm trying to show you is if I try to download a particular file, is the messenger. Messenger. So you see this, now note this particular thing, that it tells me dynamically that what is the status of the download. So if the download is really slow, the green bar on this particular icon progresses slowly as to make sure to give you a preview of what is the status, what is the level of download that has happened. Alright, and plus the taskbar continuously shows me this particular icon, which if I click upon takes me directly to the libraries. What are libraries? So libraries in Windows 7 are a very efficient way to search your documents. Basically, you save all your documents in your My Documents and download music, pictures and all. By default, all these places where you typically store your documents, etc., have already been, you can say, enabled for indexing, so as to make sure to give you the most efficient search results on all these particular folders. But since indexing takes a lot of time, so Windows 7 PC makes sure that it tries to index primarily only those particular folders where you normally save your documents. So if you are currently saving your documents in another particular disk and you want to create libraries out of it, so you can just click upon this button as include in library, or you can So you can say I want to include it in my documents library, in the music library, in pictures library, which are there by default, or you can choose to say I want to create a new library. So that when you create a particular new library, by default it takes this particular name. Now what it's going to do is, it's going to make sure that this particular file or this particular folder or this particular partition is indexed, and it will make sure that it gives you the fast search results whenever you search data from this particular library. Beyond that, we have cool new features, we have cool new applications that really, now you remember it was not that easy to create a DVD. So these days we download ISO files and we try to burn DVDs, etc. by downloading external applications, and generally free applications which are, mostly not signed by the publisher also. So we try to download those free software and try to burn the DVD. But here we have a built-in Windows DVD maker. A Windows DVD maker. So you see that I just typed DVD and it gives me the most appropriate search results. I was exactly searching for a Windows DVD maker. So I click upon the Windows DVD maker, and so it gets me to a particular wizard which allows me to choose my music files, photo, videos. Besides that, if you download an ISO file, so if I'm searching for, let's say, anything as star.iso, so I have an ISO file. Now you see this particular icon. I can directly actually right click and I can say burn disk image. So when I say burn disk image, it gets me the Windows to the Windows DVD, Windows disk burner, and it tells me to insert a blank DVD and start burning the disk. You can even verify the disk, and that's exactly the functionality that I want from Windows. Alright, so it recognizes the ISO image format, etc., and lets me burn this. So you can just click upon here, and here also it gives you the shortcut of burn disk image. It dynamically detects the format of the file and lets you do the appropriate action. So if I click upon this folder, the burn to disk option goes again. If I click upon over here, it just gives me the burn disk image because it knows that this is a disk. Image file. All right. We have a cool new calculator. You see that the calculator has really changed, and it gives you multiple. It doesn't even just give you simple and scientific format. It gives you a programmer format. So it lets you change between binary and hexadecimal formats, octal formats. And you can use it for many more purposes now. I hope you'll all like it. And then we have some games, etc., some new games that you can work on. Of course, these are just the small enhancements to the applications. There's some online and offline games that you can work on. And of course, now most of us will agree that the laptops that we buy these days come built in with the fingerprint scanning module that's installed on the laptop. So generally what I have to do is I have to download the appropriate driver software, and I have to download the appropriate, like if my laptop is a Lenovo laptop, I have to go to the Lenovo support site and download the particular drivers and the software that's going to basically allow me to work with my biometric device that is installed on the laptop. But if you have Windows 7 on your computer, Windows 7 automatically detects. So if I type biometrics, I only type bio actually. So it gives me from the control panel, I already have biometric devices, I have changed biometric settings, and I can, besides that, I can actually go to the new control panel and I can search for biometric devices over here, and it gives me all the options available for biometric devices. This involves, now this is not what I have installed off externally. This comes built-in off the shelf in Windows 7. It helps me change biometric settings. It helps me use your fingerprint with Windows. So if I say I want to use my fingerprint with Windows, it just gives me a welcome tab. that this is how it's going to work. I say continue, and so first I have to enter my password just as a secondary check that this is the real you who's working and putting in your fingerprint. So what fingerprint do you want to use to connect every time to your to log in every time to your network? Let's say I want to use my right index finger, so I click upon this and it tells me to swipe my finger from the fingerprint reader. So I'm doing it again and again as it is processing data. I do the swipe again. As soon as it says swipe your finger, I do the swipe again. Okay. It says my biometric domain login is not enabled because that's not a part of my domain policy. But of course, if if I use my home computer and I don't log into the domain, I can choose. And that can also be enabled on the domain, except that if your corporate policy allows you to use that particular data. Alright, so you can remove your fingerprint data, you can manage, suppose it gets corrupted, or you have a multi-user laptop, you don't want to remember your complex passwords, you can save, for each account you can save a password fingerprint information, and when you log off and log on again, it tells you to choose what is the way you want to log on. You want to log on with your fingerprints or want to log on with your passwords. So even if your fingerprint data goes bad or if you don't remember the password, you can swipe your fingerprint and then change your passwords. So this is a good way to log in, and even in the case you just forget your password. Okay, going further, it not only makes our life easy by giving us easy to use tools, it also works the way you want it to work. So it gives you an integrated offline and an online experience. So I just want to personalize the computer the way I want it to work. So to do that, I basically can go to my personalize, I can right click the desktop, go to the personalize tab. Here you see I have a number of ways in which I want my desktop to behave. I want to have a slideshow where I want to have the characters. Okay, I don't know whether I'll be, is my live meeting visible? My desktop is visible. Okay, I hope it's visible to everybody. Right, I don't see many objections to that. Alright, so I am assuming it's visible to everyone. So I can have a static good looking background, or I can go to the personalized tab and I can make sure that I go to the desktop background and I can say change the picture every 3 minutes, every 1 day, every 1 minute, every 10 seconds, and I can say shuffle the window. In this case, if you want, you can choose your own pictures. You can, in the pictures folder, you can choose your own slideshows, your own deck of pictures to be able to be rotated on your desktop, and that's how you can get a good dynamic desktop. Right? And even if, like, it says when using battery power, pause the slideshow, because slideshow that's happening in the background, of course, consumes higher power than a static desktop does. So if you're running on battery and you want to automatically see when you go off to your battery power, you don't remember that I have to dim my display, then I have to stop the slideshow running on the desktop. You don't remember to take all these actions. So it's good that the operating system gives you this option automatically, that whenever you're running on battery power, it should stop the slideshow. Alright. Basically good contrast, etc. So good built-in desktop features are also very good. Alright. So and let's have a good look at what's there in the right-hand window. Arrow is still, it will not enable unless and until okay, so on the right hand side of my system tray, I have different icons. And what do these icons work for? Here I have a wireless icon. If I click upon to this, you see that the kind of interface it gives me. Oh my God, there are so many adjacent companies' wireless LANs. Okay, so it gives me a quick view of what are the wireless networks available. If I click upon it, it gives me it gives me a complete button on whether I want to directly connect to this. It gives me a warning sign or a safe or an unsafe sign. And it lets me quickly connect and disconnect to the available wireless networks. And the best thing is that you don't need to be an administrator to connect to your local available wireless network. This you can do even as a part of you being the standard user. Not only that, suppose you're running low on power and you really want to save the battery power, etc. You can go to customize power themes, or you can just directly switch upon to your laptop's battery power over here. You see that the kind of interface it gives you. This kind of battery interface quickly tells you how much battery is left, and if you want to go, you can change your power plans over here automatically, or you can go to more power options, and this will automatically take you to your control panel's power option, where you can change the plan settings, where you can create new plans so that they can show here on the power settings tab. And you can also dynamically adjust the screen brightness over here as you wish. So if this is the standard screen brightness while I'm offline, okay, so I can make sure that, I hope you are able to see the brightness on my screen being adjusted. Okay. And this I can do through the settings in the power plan also. I can have a custom power plan, I can have a balanced one. And if I go to the mobility center, I can also choose what is the way I want to have. If I have a projector display, do you want to by default have the wireless off? Do you want to connect multiple displays, or do you want to? So if I just connect the projector, it quickly brings up whether you want to have a duplicate screen display, or do you want to have a main screen and then the other screen display. So you can have a create power plan, choose how this power plan works. And of course, we have many other things, which gives like, if I have now, we saw that we have built-in biometric smart card support, and in Windows 7, what I have personally experienced and what we have seen in all through experience of Windows 7 from the beta to RC is that if I plug in any of my digital cameras, if I plug in any of my USB enabled devices, my phone, I simply don't need to download any explicit driver. Most of the devices device drivers come built into this particular operating system, and it quickly detects the kind of device and the brand of device that has been connected to my computer, and it quickly gives me a view of this in the devices and printers. It gives me a view of the devices that are available, because I've connected another screen. I have a built-in biometric coprocessor. I have connected the network printer, etc. And I normally connect my Nokia N79, which I use at home, to this particular computer, and hence it is able to detect it, and I don't need to download any kind of driver from the manufacturers. So such is the kind of device and driver support that is available with Windows 7. Alright, besides that, it makes my home group and home working relatively easy. Besides the fact that it gives me ability to have a media center built into Windows 7 PC, I have an option of what we say connecting to a particular home group. So I can go to the Open Network and Sharing Center, and I can say I want to connect to a home group. Although the home group is a particular group of devices, of all the network-enabled devices that you're working with at home. For example, you have more than one PCs that you're working with, you have your phones that you want to connect to, you have your media center PCs, you have a home server. So if you want to, dynamically share pictures with each other, if you have more than one PC, you can do that by bringing in all your devices into a home group. So if the moment you connect your PC of the home broadband network, it asks you for the location. Set the location of the network that you're working in. Whether you're working in a public network, you're working in a home network, or this is a work environment. So if you choose your network to be a home network, you can choose all these locations into all the devices, and then it brings up that what is called as a home group network. If you're all in a home group network, it allows you to, without any, generally when we're working, one is PC is in Windows XP, one PC is Windows NT, one PC is like Windows Vista. So you generally have to create another user account, allow sharing, etc., and share your files and folders, access the other computer from the shared folder from the other PC, then download and share pictures, etc. But with Windows 7, if you're all connected to the same home group, it just allows you to share your pictures without getting up from your seat at all. So if you go to the choose home group and sharing options, you can go to the advanced sharing options and you can say how this particular things work. So you have different profiles. When you're working in the home, you have a home profile. When you're working in the, public, let's say you're sitting in a cafe and trying to connect to the internet, you're generally working in the public profile. And when you come back in the office and connect your laptop to the local area network of your company, you're generally working in your domain profile. But when you're working on the cafe, etc., or you're working at home, you don't want your corporate firewall to be active and putting the same restrictions as are there in your office network. So if you want, you can, now these changes or these settings are made by default by the PC, but if you want, you can definitely go to the advanced sharing options and you can tell your computer that when you are in the domain profile, whether to turn on or turn off network discovery, whether you want to turn on or turn off the file sharing. Now by default it is turned on because the domain environment is considered to be pretty safe. So public folder sharing should be on or off, media streaming should be on or off, and file sharing, of course, using 128-bit encryption. It gives you that kind of choice. So it tells you whether you want to enable file sharing for devices using only 40 to 56-bit encryption, or you want to enable it to use 128-bit encryption. Now, if you're using the 128-bit encryption option, you make sure that the other PCs that you're sharing your files and folders with are also capable of receiving encrypted data, which is encrypted with 128-bit of encryption algorithm. And you can go to your public profile and make sure that when you're connecting to the internet using your cafe Wi-Fi network or any other publicly available Wi-Fi network, let's say you're sitting at the airport and connecting to the internet, you can make you can go back to your public profile, and by default these are the settings where if you don't want to share any files or folders, you can obviously go and turn off file and printer sharing, file and folder sharing, etc. And you can even turn off network discovery so that the other computers who are connecting to the same Wi-Fi network are not able to even see your computer that's available. And that's a good security option. And of course, when you're working at home or another work network, you can choose all these options so as to make sure that your PC works in a safe network environment that you can freely share your files and folders and your pictures, etc. with. Power management we just saw. And not only does this particular thing gives you a not only does it give you a good integrated experience of working with multiple devices and computers in your office network, at your home network, even when you're online. Even when you're online, let's say I normally participate in kind of online biddings on eBay. So if I really want to, kind of keep track of let's say I want to search for X for 360. Okay. So I really want to search for Xbox 360 on eBay. So I basically want to have some kind of accelerators on my computer which can dynamically allow me to search. Let's just have a look at this. Now you see that there is a green icon that's, hopping along as I scroll through the various things, various options that are there for Xbox on eBay. Now this is what we call as a web slide. Now if I want to keep track of this particular option of Xbox, I can actually click upon this web slide and I can see that it can add it to my favorites bar. So it adds this particular option to my favorite bar, and every time I Explorer, I can, it shows if there is a new bid, this particular text shows in bold, and I can, really keep a track of what is the current bidding option on this particular product. And I can go to see it particular page. I can go to that particular page and place my bidding over there. So it makes you. There are very many accelerators over here, so you can have web slices, and it keeps you really safe. You can go to the particular, you can go to the accelerators, and let's say I want to look for. So there are many accelerators that let me work with I want to search the Tourism Malaysia web page, for example. And I want to find out, let's say, aerospace, etc. So I have this blue icon where I can click upon it. I can click upon this, I can highlight a particular text, click upon this blue icon, and you see that I have a number of shortcuts over here. I can actually translate this word with Google Translate. I can mail or blog about this particular highlighted text. Let's say I want to send some particular mail containing this particular text to a person. So I click upon this blue icon. I can email with Windows Live. I can search it with Live Search. And you see that if I click upon it, it opens this particular link in a new tab. So it doesn't make me shift from my existing page. It just accelerates my work. And if I want to really search this particular page on Live Search or Google Maps or Live Maps, etc., it just makes me, even if you're logged in onto this particular account, it just if you logged into this particular account, it automatically takes me to the to my mail page, and it composes a new mail, gives a particular subject, and automatically pastes this highlighted text onto the content box and lets me mail this particular content to whoever I want to mail it to using my live mail. And even if I want to, let's say, blog about it, and I'm logged into my Windows Live blog, it will let me blog this particular. I can blog it with Windows Live, I can map it with Live Search, I can search it with Wikipedia, I can make a Microsoft.com search, and I can even have many more such accelerators. So it takes me to the accelerator page. You see that there's so many vendors who have actually made accelerators to work on Internet Explorer 8 so as to make your online experience really integrated with what you're doing in everyday life. Alright, so you have blogging accelerators, you have mailing accelerators, you have accelerators that can help you search, that can actually help you translate, that can give you information on travel. So if I'm highlighting like Malaysia or a particular hotel in Malaysia, I can right click and say I can say find it on TripAdvisor, so as to make sure that it gives me TripAdvisor results on TripAdvisor advice on what I need to do during my travel. So that's Internet Explorer 8 that is built into Windows Vista. That makes you work the way you want. You can personalize your computer and you can make it work the way you want in whatever conditions. You want to have high power options, you want to have low power options, you want to customize what shows on your desktop and what is available, you want to connect to a particular wireless network. You can do that as quickly as possible with Windows 7. Let's go ahead and see how Microsoft makes sure that this particular operating system is really efficient when it comes to management for IT pros. So as IT pros working in the enterprise, it is a big responsibility for all of us to be able to efficiently manage our network in the best and the easiest way possible. So to enable that, we have a number of tasks. Now normally the IT help desk gets lots of calls onto some small problems in connection, some small problems in firewalls, etc., in updates not being up to date, some sound not working or your features not working. So there are a lot of general problems that occur on your PC, which as IT pros you can really solve quickly now, or even as an end user, you can go ahead and solve these problems all by yourself. So we have an interesting feature over here and an icon that shows up on your system tray that is called as the Action Center. So when I click upon it, it normally shows as a normal white flag. But if there is any problem with the PC, any issues the PC is facing, it shows a red cross. Now, to bring my attention to what is the problem in the PC, I can click upon this particular flag and it can tell me whether there's a warning, whether there's an error, there's a problem into the system. I can open the Action Center and it can tell me what is the problem. Now all the security concerns are met, all the maintenance concerns are met, except that this backup has not been set up, which is not a very good option. So if you have not installed an antivirus software, if your firewall is off, if your automatic updates are off, Windows updates are off, now these are all the options, security options it checks for. And if there's a problem in any one of these, let's say network firewall is on. So Windows firewall. So it will turn Windows firewall on or off. It is not under my control to turn it on or off. Let's just go to the Windows update. My domain profile is actually working for my administrator. So if I have any particular problem, it shows me a red cross over here. I can go over here and it tells me that what is the problem. So there is a problem with Windows Update. So what did I just do? I just made sure that the computer asked me for automatically updating Windows Updates only downloads, but asked me before it installs the update. Now the computer is not very happy with it, because as part of my security settings, the Windows Update should be installed on my computer as soon as possible. So it's not something that's very critical for my attention, but it is something that really is recommended for Microsoft. So it shows me this particular box in a yellow bar. Now the yellow bar is just kind of a warning, says that your PC might be at threat at any point of time because of this setting. So I can go over here directly and I can just change. I don't have to go to back to the Windows Update settings, etc. I just have to change my option to what is called as recommended, and the settings come back to normal and the yellow bar is now gone. Now the only problem is setting up a backup. Now as a part of an IT pro, as an administrator, you might have seen that in Windows Vista the backup and the restore doesn't work. Doesn't work in the sense that either it doesn't work, it gives you errors, or it is really problematic to work with. Now it really works in Windows 7, and if you really want to set up a backup and restore, it's easy. You can either go to the backup from here, backup and restore, or this is giving me a problem, so I can set up a backup over here. Now there's another change that you all might have noticed. You see that I have been regularly clicking on these shield icon based tasks, which in Windows Vista means that if you click upon this particular option that has a shield icon, you will you will be required to either give in your permission to continue if you are the administrator or admin enabled account, or if you are a standard user account, you will have to type in the username and password. You'll have to type in the administrator password to continue with this account. So you see that the Windows 7 PC is not giving me any kind of errors while I am actually trying to connect, because there is something called as user account control changes, which allows me to have a complete control on what is the level of interaction I want the user account control to do with me. Normally in Windows Vista, this is set to this thing. Now this level says always notify me when any external program or any built-in Windows program tries to make a change to my Windows registry, tries to see anything. When you install an application, when you download a driver and install it, when you install a printer, any kind of activity, or even when you enable any particular feature from Windows, from control panel when you install and uninstall applications, any kind of change that will require a change in your Windows registry, system registry, it will always prompt you for whether you want to continue with that kind of a change, or if you are a standard user, it will ask you for the administrator password, because it cannot allow a non-administrative account to go ahead and make changes to your system registry. Now we got a lot of feedback from a lot of customers saying that this is really intrusive, and it actually hampers a lot of my productivity many times, because I don't really want to click upon continue, and if there are so many prompts, we don't even look at what is prompting to us, and we just go on and clicking continue. So we took that feedback, we listened to it, and we made sure that in Windows 7 the default level of the UAC prompt was brought down to only external systems, not when you're making change to control panel items. If you're making changes to any Windows components, etc., and you are an administrator, you will not see any prompts, you will not be told to continue, etc. You will not see any prompts from UAC, but only when you, let's say, download an application, download a new software and try to install it, then you will be prompted to continue with your permissions or to type in an administrator password before you want. Now you can even customize that, customize in the sense that you can even bring down this level to this level, saying that don't notify me when I make changes to Windows settings or anything, or you can bring this down to a 0 level. A 0 level, this is basically saying turn off UAC. An option to turn off UAC is also there in Windows Vista. In Windows Vista also, the option is there to turn off the UAC, but you have to start your local security policies. In the local security policies, local policies, you have to scroll down to the user account control settings, policies which are there in your computer, and there you have a policy of turn off user account control. If you enable that, your user account control is turned off. But of course, that is not recommended, because user account control is an extremely appreciated and extremely good feature that lets my computer be really safe from any of the mistaken downloads and installations of viruses, of any applications which are unauthorized, which are trying to access internet in an unauthorized way. It really warns me of any such kind of changes to my system. So that's a good thing. So what we've done is that we, instead of disabling UAC or removing that feature, we have brought the prompts down from a higher level to a medium level, so as the productivity of an everyday user is not hampered. Not that you can just roll it from here. Even if you want, you can, and this kind of prompt is not seen. Even if you want, you can just type user account control over here, and you will just be taken to the user account control settings, or you can go to the control. So now it's there in the control panel. You can go to the control panel and search for user account control settings, so this prompt will come up automatically. So we were there at the backup. Let us see how the backup things work. Now backup is a very simple and intuitive backup. Now you can just take your backup on any CD DVD drive of your data backup on any CD DVD drive. You can take it on another hard disk if you have. If you have an external hard disk, you can just plug in that USB external hard disk and take your data backup on that. Not even that. Let's say you want to save the backup on this particular drive. says it doesn't have enough space, so dynamically it detects the amount of space you want to have. Or if you want to save it on the network, you can give the network path your credentials to access that particular share, and it even lets you choose folder per disk to folders to file level as to what you want to back up to the drive, and you want to mark it that it has been backed up. You just want to make a copy kind of backup. It just lets you do all this in a very, very novice way. You don't really have to be an IT pro or really have to be a technical person to really back up your computer. It's really simple. And restoring your computer is another interesting thing that really let's suppose I want to restore you can go to system restore, or you can go to backup and restore, and let's say I want to restore my computer. So you want to restore it from a backup that you had taken. So if you have taken a backup of the D drive, you need not restore your entire D drive from the backup. You can open that backup file in this particular window, and you can choose a particular folder or multiple particular folders you want to restore, or files inside the particular folder you want to restore. You can choose the restoration options as good as you could choose the backup options. And if you want to go back to another restore point into your system, so you can set up restore point, so your computer keeps on taking backup if there is any particular problem, or if there is a new installation, it can take an instant restore point and make sure that you can go back. So you can open system restore, or you can go to advanced recovery methods, where you can use the system image created earlier to recover your computer, or you can reinstall Windows, which will require a Windows installation disk. So it will reboot your computer and will run the recovery so that you can recover your system. You didn't back up your computer, otherwise if you have a backup, you can recover it from a backup. Not only that, now if you are an IT pro who's trying to manage many of the computers day by day, or a normal desktop user, you can yourself solve any problems. Let's suppose my computers, I'm working with my computer and suddenly I plug in my headphones and all, and there is nothing that's audible. So the problem is somewhere in the sound. So I know that there is some problem in the sound, but I don't know how to solve it. My computer is not able to connect to the internet, but I don't know how to really, people will come. I call to my IT help desk, says, okay, you open the connections. I say, where do I go and open the connections from? So it says you go to your control panel, open connections, right click, go to properties, try to disable your local area connection, then enable it, then go to your command prompt, do IP configure. How? If you're suggesting me to take all these steps, can't you write a script and give it to me so I can run, which can do all these things by itself? I hope you'll all agree that that's quite an easier job to do, both for an IT help desk personnel as well as for the consumer who's facing the problem. That's exactly what Windows 7 built-in troubleshooters do. Now Windows 7 has about 20 built-in troubleshooters which will allow you to solve normal problems on your PC as quickly as possible. Now you can do that. Now if I'm facing some problem, I have deliberately muted my my headphones so as to emulate a problem that I'm not able to hear any sound. So to do that, to solve any such center, I can go to the action center, or I can go to the control panel, and there's in the control panel also there's a troubleshooting tab. I can go to the normal control panel, and the control panel, I say I have a particular problem, or find and fix problems, right? Hardware and sound is a problem, right? Sound, adjust the system changes, manage sounds, etc. So if there is any kind of problem, I just can say I want to troubleshoot. Troubleshooting. I can go to the troubleshooting option. So you see there's so many troubleshooters built in over here. Some program is not working, some hardware and sound is not working. So I say troubleshoot audio playback. Now when I say troubleshoot audio playback or troubleshoot audio recording, so in case there's a problem with the mic, I'll say troubleshoot audio recording. There's a problem with this playback, I'll say troubleshoot audio playback. Now just keep looking at this particular thing which is right now muted. I am not going to go and deliberately unmute it. I'll just say troubleshoot audio playback. Playing audio, play sounds, or I say next. Now while it is saying detecting problems, just keep on looking at this. Checking audio device status. Checking default audio device. Checking audio device status. Resort. So can you again look at this particular icon? And you see that I did not deliberately go and unmute this particular sound box, but it detected all the problems. It tried to correct the problems, tried to apply its default troubleshooting things. The problem got solved. It gives me, and then it again goes back and tries to run the same checks and make sure that the problem is solved. Once it is solved, it builds up a report, tells me what was the problem with my device, and it tells me whether the problem has been fixed or not. Now, I just hope I cannot, this is the problem with the live meeting is that we cannot face the audience. Because it's a big feedback to see the audience's reaction also, which can only be gauged by that Q&A tab on the live meeting, which we really can't switch to again and again while we are presenting over here. But I hope you will all appreciate the ability of the troubleshooters to work. Simply, again, if my problem has been fixed, it's good. If the problem has not been fixed, now let's say there's a problem with the driver, so the driver is not up to date or there is any other problem. If the problem is not fixed, I can go and explore other options. With the other options, it gives me various other links where I can go. I can go to search, help and support. I can go to Windows communities. I can find related troubleshooters. Now, you will all appreciate that Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008 are two platforms that are completely built on Windows PowerShell. Now, I hope most of you as IT pros would have heard of Windows PowerShell by now, because Windows PowerShell is the most advanced scripting platform available for IT pros. So I am not telling IT pros to become developers anymore, because PowerShell is such an intuitive and an easy language. I mean, PowerShell is a language that lets me give commands in English to my computer. So if I tell the computer to start service, I just give the command start service netlogon and it really starts. So it's not a computer where I have to give a command start service netlogon. I don't have to learn any syntaxes. If I want all the a process to stop, I can just say stop process. If I just want a service to stop, I can say stop service. So, it just is a simple verb and noun command that it gives me, and I really don't need to explicitly do a course in scripting again to really manage my computer. So with Windows PowerShell, we have the power to really build scripts, and we don't really need to be, be explicit friends of our scripters, because we don't need to really depend upon scripters anymore to write scripts which can automate our computer's functioning. With PowerShell, in Windows 7, the beauty is that PowerShell gives us a GUI while we are working in Windows 7. So I can just open PowerShell over here, and we have a PowerShell, this ISE, which is actually a graphical form of PowerShell, and it lets me give simple command over here like get process. Now, if I give a command get process over here, this is a simple command. Now, in Windows, it has usually been so difficult. Now, if I am a Linux user, I give just a simple command to get all the processes running on my system. And what is that command? Can you answer it on the Q&A tab? What is the command to Yes, right. PS is the command. And now see, even if I go to PowerShell and write PS, You see what happens? PS gives me exactly the same result as does get process. But what I want is, I want to type process and still get all the processes. And now when I give the command process, process is actually and now when I give the command Ranjana, what happens is, it gets me all the running processes. So what did I just do? I just said, now PS is an alias that has been built into PowerShell with a basic command get process. So the basic command is get process. PS is an alias that has been built into it. And normally in Windows, what is the command that I give to list the current files in the directory? I give the dir command. And if I am a Linux user, what is the command that I give to see the current files in the directory? I give the ls command. Both give me the same output in Windows PowerShell. So if you are a CMD user, or if you are a frequent Linux Unix user, if you have been used to Bash, not only does this is not the end to PowerShell. This is not even a start to PowerShell, in the sense that PowerShell is so powerful and integrated a shell that it can let me, and even the VB scripters. How many lines of code do you generally write to create an instance of a new instance of Internet Explorer, to then navigate to www.microsoft.com, change the status bar and change the title bar, and then close Internet Explorer? How many? And then get me the state whether the Internet Explorer has been closed or not. You will take at least about a page of VB script to write all this. And in contrast, how many lines of code does it take for me to write the same code in PowerShell? Believe me, it just takes me 5 lines of code. So even if you have written your scripts in JavaScript or VB script, or any kind of COM-based programming, .NET-based programming, we have an explicit session on PowerShell where we actually explore the power of PowerShell and we see how IT pros like me, how administrators like you, who have never done any kind of programming and scripting, can easily build powerful commands with which not only you can manage your own system, you can manage all the systems in the network that you have access to very, very easily. So in the next session that's going to be on PowerShell, we're going to demo all that. All right, so be there while we explore the other features right now. All right, and many a times, especially if you have a Windows Vista computer, there have been complaints about the performance. What is taking so much memory on my computer? What is taking so much time? Why is it taking so much time to complete a file transfer from one computer to the other? Why is it taking so much time to transfer a file from one folder to the other? What is taking so much network resource on my network? So these have been normal questions from the users of Windows Vista PCs, which have really bugged the IT help desk support for a long time. Now, it has been really difficult, and we download a number of third-party softwares, etc., with which we can analyze what is the network performance, what is taking up so much time, what is taking up so much memory on my computer. Whereas in Windows 7, not only is the task manager improved, we'll see the improvement in the task manager, not only has the task manager improved, it gives you the application view, and here it gives you the related services view, and with services you can go to that particular process that it is linked to, and you can also see the performance over here, and over here you have a button with which you can directly go. You can see the networking options over here. But see, all that you can do is you can see very little amount of description. Although you can add tabs and columns to whatever you want to see, but it doesn't really give you any kind of, actionable item. So you can go to the resource, what we call as the reliability and resource monitor. So you can go to the resource monitor over here, and you will see that the resource monitor is kind of a front end to the task manager. Just look at the resource monitor carefully. It gives me the processes and services which are running on my computer and a graphical view of that. Not only does it do that, it is able to give me the associated handles, associated modules. Not only that, it is also able to give me the CPU usage, disk usage, network usage, memory usage per process. But it doesn't stop over here. The best thing is that when I click upon this particular SQL server, it gives me the related resources being used by the SQL server on the CPU, on the memory. You see this particular blue line? I can go to perfmon, and it will give me the related instances and process IDs of perfmon, and it will give me how many disk bytes or read bytes per second is happening for that particular process. What is the memory, commit rate, etc., working set being used by that particular process. So I don't really have to, this is what we have been wanting out of Windows. I don't want, like a Linux user, I don't want to go to the shell and give a pipe command that PS, where PS equal to this, where working set is greater than this. Although we can do that easily in PowerShell, but a Windows administrator really looks forward to a kind of an interface where he can actually select one particular thing and he can see what are the related resources being used. I can see over here that if I select system interrupts, or if I select, let's say, a particular PW console, it tells me what are the instances running of it and what is the memory usage of it, what are the associated DLLs this particular, what is the exe, what are the DLLs this particular process is using. We see so many SVC services, we don't know what are the related DLLs being used by that particular process. So this is kind of a, appropriately as I said, a front end to task manager. You cannot go so deep into the task manager to even see what are the components, Windows components this particular process is using, what are the read and write this particular exe is using in the memory. What are the pages being used? And look at this interface. It gives you the complete RAM installed on your system. It gives you the in-use memory, which is in green. 66 MB is hardware reserved, so you know that if you have 2 GB of memory on your laptop and you right click and you go to the properties, it gives you less than 2 GB. Where is it being? It tells you how much is the hardware utilizing, what is in use, what is has been modified currently, what is the standby memory, and what is the free memory in your RAM, right? And you can go to search indexer, etc. What you can see, what is the disk usage, what is the memory usage of this search indexer. So go to associated handles, associated modules, and the process, of course, W search, which is Windows search that it has been using. It belongs to the DCOM launch. Gives you a good description of what this particular process is about. So even if you want to disable or end this particular process, how would it affect your system? And even if you have a multi-processor system, it gives you a comprehensive view of what is the usage level of each and every CPU. You can change these views. You can change it to a medium view, a small view. So I hope this is kind of appreciated. You can just start the resource monitor from here. Just type resource monitor. You can start it from here. You can monitor. You can see what mode stop monitoring. You can stop monitoring over here. You can select the processor. So you want to actually, enable monitoring only on one processor, because you see resource monitoring is kind of an network. So this is what you have been wanting for a long time. We want to know that to what particular servers. Now I have actually logged on to my Gurgaon domain controller. So it actually needs to, it completely gives me explicit. My Outlook.exe is actually has been, connected to the Singapore South Pacific.corp. That is the place where my exchange server, the main exchange server is lying. So this gives me a complete transparent view of how the network communications are happening, and a best way to basically know how you can, what you need to actually go and troubleshoot for and where the problem exactly lies. Close to the ending time now. But let's just want to share a little bit more. So this is not only this is the manageability and easy to use of the enhancements, but there are many other enhancements in Windows 7 that make it even really safe to work. I'm sure many of you would have worked with BitLocker in Windows Vista, and we've got a feedback from our enterprise customers that BitLocker is a really good feature to use, especially in this with respect to the enterprise environment, where we really want, there are many laptops which are lost every day. So the loss is rather than being a loss of hardware, the loss is really of the information that's saved in the computer, and we really don't want to have that to be gone, because it is a notion in the market that if the Windows computer is inherently not safe. So you can take your computer to a technician and you can.
Please pardon the interruption. Your conference contains less than 3 participants at this time. If you would like to continue, press *1 now, or the conference will be terminated.
We'll continue. All right. So it not only so BitLocker is a feature that protects my laptop from disclosing any information saved in my computer, even if it's stolen. So it gives you the offline security on your laptop. Now what we have done with Windows 7, so BitLocker was so good a feature that in Windows Vista, off the shelf, BitLocker gave you full volume encryption, and which was a very high level of encryption. We'll explore how BitLocker used to work in Vista, and what has been the way BitLocker technology has been built in the security session of Windows 7, where we talk about security features in Windows 7. But in Windows Vista, BitLocker could be enabled only on the drive where you had installed Windows Vista. That is, if you had installed Windows Vista on the C drive, it would work only on the C drive. But the feedback was so good that people said we hardly save our data on the C drive. If C drive is a system drive, we don't save our data on the system drive. We generally create another partition and save our data over there. But BitLocker can't be enabled on that drive. So in Windows Vista SP1, we extended the BitLocker capability to be able to encrypt the data volumes as well. Now, once we did that, and it was being used in the enterprise, and when Windows 7 was being developed, we got another feedback that now that our data volumes, the system volumes are safe, we want to make sure that people carry a lot of data and information in their USB sticks and the external drives also these days. So if the laptops get stolen, the possibility of USB sticks and external hard disk getting stolen is much more. So is there a way that we could protect our data in those external volumes also? So in Windows 7, we extended the BitLocker facility for protecting system volume, data volume to external USB sticks also, and we call that feature as BitLocker to go. So in BitLocker to go, the moment you plug in a USB stick, you can just right-click it and you can turn on an option secure it using BitLocker. If you do that, BitLocker makes sure that to protect that particular USB stick with a password that you can either remember or you can save it even in your smart card. So it makes sure that your drive's on the go. Now I'm going to plug in a particular USB stick. I'll show you how it looks when it comes up onto the computer. So as soon as I plug it in, it installs and it is ready to use. Now that's another thing, that it just allows a device to be used almost instantly. So I open it, my computer. So this is, Amit has lended me a USB stick. So I right click and I can say turn on BitLocker. So traditionally in Windows Vista, you have to go to the control panel, go to the security options, and then say turn on BitLocker. So you go to the control panel traditionally over here and go to system and security and you say BitLocker drive encryption. So here, since this is a Windows 7 computer, it lets me turn on BitLocker on the system volume, it lets me turn on BitLocker on my data volume, and it also enables BitLocker to go off the shelf on the USB volume. So once if I say I want to turn on BitLocker, it'll run a wizard where it'll just tell me to put in a password, whether you want to remember this password or you want to save it on a smart card. So it's not that if I enable BitLocker on this USB stick, I won't be able to use this USB stick on the other computer. If I have enabled BitLocker on this USB stick, all I need to do is the moment I plug it into a Windows XP computer or a Windows Vista computer, I just need to put in my password and the data will be available to me from the USB stick. It's not that it will lock the USB stick from being used on any other non-Windows 7 computer. Not only that, we have other features with which the administrators can completely lock what would be available, what applications. See, normally the problem is when the user, when they're new users, you're issuing laptops to the new users, you install certain applications, you install certain LOB applications, you install certain, softwares which are going to be useful to the employee. But after about 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, you see that there are so many softwares, extra features, extra things installed on the laptops which really bring down the performance of the corporate laptops, and that has really been a problem. So the problem has been, how do I make sure that the laptop remains in a consistent state, people don't install unwanted applications? So AppLocker is one such policy in your computer, group policy, where you can say that I want only, all Microsoft software can be installed except Microsoft Games or except any version of Solitaire, etc. Or you can say, don't allow Adobe software except for Adobe Acrobat Reader so-and-so version 4 star or version 4.0.1.2. For example, you can give options you can allow options on the basis of publisher, on the basis of software names, on the basis of their version, their build, to the end point where you can specify each and every software's publisher, each and every software's version, etc., and log down what really can be installed on this computer and what may not be installed. And we are going to demonstrate AppLocker once we talk about manageability in Windows. IE8 I just talked about. IE8 also brings in the security feature of having a smart screen filter. You can have a smart screen filter which will automatically detect if there is an unauthorized or there is a phishing kind of website which is there that you've tried to open. The smart screen filter will help you. Protected mode on will help you make sure that your surfing is really, really safe. Besides that, you also have in private browsing, just forget it. You're in private browsing, so you want to, surf something for which you really want to, you really don't want your browser to save your passwords, to save your usernames, etc., to your data, and you don't want to be saved in the cookies, you don't want to reveal what you've been surfing, so you can open that session in private browsing. So when you go to in private browsing, this icon comes up, and whatever you surf over here, no browsing history is maintained, no usernames and passwords are saved. Your surfing here is completely private. That's another good feature that many of the users want. So that is kind of overview of how safe your both offline your computer is and your online surfing is. Besides that, we have many other features which make Windows 7 computer a best client computer to be able to be used with Windows Server 2008 R2. That's a new version of Windows Server that's about to be launched. With Windows Server 2008 R2, it provides feature like you can work from anywhere. Now, traditionally, as a part of enterprise customers, what have you been, really working on? We know that if I go back home and I want to try to connect to my, corporate network, what do I have to do? I've been connecting either using RAS or using VPN. But, we really don't want to readily use VPN all the time. Why? Because, one, it takes a lot of time. I really have to, put my smart card in, then, have to dial into my computer's network. Then it takes a lot of time to quarantine, to update my computer, and then finally connect my computer to the corporate network. And since my data is, after connecting to the corporate network, when we are surfing internet, all the requests for the internet website, for the public website, are being routed through my VPN server in the corporate network, which really slows down my internet experience. So I really want to, quickly finish my office work, log off, and then be able to browse internet on the normal broadband network. Now imagine this. You're traveling somewhere, you're sitting in your cafe, you're sitting in, cafe coffee day or anywhere where there's free Wi-Fi. You connect to the Wi-Fi network, you open your Internet Explorer and just type HTTP your intranet website, your office website, not your office public website, your intranet, internal office website, and you get the results. Now, this is so beautiful that it brings tears in my eyes to just, believe that it is possible. And it is so much possible that we are using this right now in our Microsoft network with Windows Server 2008 R2 being our server side on the corporate network and Windows 7 being on the client side. Now, this is possible simply because of the power of IPv6. So IPv6 allows us to have what we call as direct access to our corporate networks without having to go through the pains of RAS, VPN or anything. Because we are using something called as IPv6. IPv6 is the next generation of TCP/IP, as you all must be knowing, and the enterprise networks are planning to, not only they are planning, many of the corporate networks are in the process of migrating their TCP/IP version 4 networks to TCP/IP IPv version 6. And this will help them not only set up and go to the next generation of enterprise computing, but this will also give facilities like this to their, to their corporate office users. You can I just go home, connect my computer to my regular broadband, Airtel broadband or, MTNL or BSNL or any kind of broadband, and I just open internet, and just as I surf Bing.com or Microsoft.com or Twitter or anything, I open the browser and I also surf HTTP, my SharePoint website. I open Outlook and I click upon an internal SharePoint link, and it just opens just like any other public website. Not only that, not only does it give me access to the intranet website without making explicit connection to the VPN or anything, now that if I am browsing a public website like Microsoft.com, Google or Twitter or anything, the traffic does not get routed through my VPN server or through my direct access server in the network. It gets directly, so it is able to differentiate between what is the public internet traffic and request and what is the intranet request. So intranet requests go through my direct access server, whereas the public network, the internet requests, go directly through my ISP's network, and hence it is able to give me a very, very efficient experience of, browsing in not only intranet but also internet. Now, it's not, even if I'm not there in office, I'm at home or I'm, in the cafe, etc., my boss doesn't even know really physically where I am, but for him, I'm actually, working like I'm working in the office. So you're virtually always in the office now. And branch cache is another feature that really allows branch offices, because many of the offices these days are globally separated. The branch office experience is not very good, in the sense that if they have to surf internet or get any kind or do any kind of network activity, all their requests have to go through the WAN links and go to their main office, and then so the experience is not very good. So branch cache feature is a kind of feature which allows you to have caching of web pages either on a central server in the branch office, or you may have distributed caching, which can enable caching on multiple client computers. If you don't have a server computer in the branch, it can enable caching. So if one particular user sends a request for, let's say, yahoo.com and its related pages, the pages would be cached on the client's own computer, or it will be cached on the central branch cache server. So if any other user requests for the similar pages, the request is not sent again to through the WAN links to the corporate main network. It is routed from internal cache, and the user gets a response fairly quickly. So this really improves the kind of internet experience of the branch office users. Again, a capability that is given to you through the use of IPv6. Now coming back to almost the end of this particular session and summarizing what we did, we see that Windows 7 makes PCs really simpler and easier to use. So your PC at the end is simplified. Means that it simplifies everyday tasks. Windows 7 makes the things you do every day faster and easier, works the way you want. You can personalize, you can decide what you want to see, how you want your computer to work. It makes your PC run faster, it makes you work in a more secure environment, and works very reliably. And I can vouch for that from my personal experience migrating from Windows Vista to Windows 7. It really makes new things possible, so you'll discover easy and exciting new ways to share your files, photos, videos, etc., burn DVDs. It really gives you an integrated online experience as well as offline of working in a home group environment. So the pieces of Windows 7 will simplify everyday tasks, work the way you want, and make some new things possible. With this, we come to the end of this session, and we have some resources with which you can choose what is the kind of Windows 7 PC you want to go for. Now, this particular PowerPoint deck would be available for you to download from the same website. So you can download it and save it for your further use. Although I don't know, I have not put in a lot of information on these slides as such, so rather focus more on the demos over here. But I'm sure in the future webcasts that we're going to have on Windows 7, on security features, on PowerShell, I'm going to be putting a lot of information on these slide decks also, especially in the form of notes, etc., which you can, you can download and you can use them for your offline purposes. So these are some of the additions available for Windows 7, which you can choose from. This just summarizes the kind of features that would be available in all the SKUs. What are the differences into it? And some more localized resources, etc. MeraWindows.com is the first of its kind of Indian community for Windows enthusiasts, which you can log on and interactively participate on it. You can go to my blog ranjanajain.spaces.live.com, and I'm kind of quite an active blogger on Windows 7. The only reason I tell you to explicitly go and go through the blog in the sense that is because I really make sure that most of the topics I blog on Windows are more graphical than graphical, in the sense that I make sure that I give you graphical interfaces of how this feature looks like, what are the options that you have when you go to this particular window, what are the options which are there when you click on this group policy link, etc. So I give detailed graphical posts on my blog on Windows, so you can refer to that on the ranjanajain.spaces.live.com. Besides that, we have Windows.com and Talking About Windows.com. Talking About Windows.com is a really new website, cool new website that gives you responses from experts in Windows area from Microsoft as well as from outside, like Mark Russinovich, Mark Minasi, and other celebrities in and out of Microsoft who are talking about, and the community what it is talking about Windows 7 and what do they feel about it. So thank you very much for attending this particular session today, although we tripped with about 10 to 12 minutes. I'm sorry for that particular delay that happened in the start because of the technical problems. I hope you'll come back all again for the further webcast sessions on Windows and other technologies. Thank you very much. Okay, before exiting this particular session, I would like to open this session for Q&A. So in case you have any questions, kindly make sure that have I ended the live meeting? Shit, I couldn't take the questions. Ranjana Jain
Is now exiting.